We're going to turn a honey dipper here that's designed to be turned by a first-time turner. It's been pre-turned so that only thing that has to be done is to shape the barrel a little bit and shape the handle a little bit, do a little bit of sanding, and then we'll put some wax on for a finish. We're using a safety center in the mini lathe here, and we're tightening up the line center to make sure there's no gap in between, so it's nice and tight against the wood. I'll position the tool rest so it's about 3/8 to a ½ inch away, and we'll let the first time turner start trying to turn it with a spindle gouge. If they appear to be having a little bit of trouble, we'll suggest that they try a scraper. So we'll tell them press the tool down against the tool rest, let the bevel rub, lift the cut, and just slide it across the wood and lift the handle, give a little bit of a curve, and keep the flutes about 45 degrees to the floor. So we'll start, speed the lathe up a little bit since we're using a small diameter here. Let the bevel rub, lift to find the cut, and lift the handle as we go across to kind of shape the barrel. There's very little turning here. The idea is just to give somebody an idea of how wood turning works. Then we'll shape the handle a little bit here, keeping it smaller on the ends and larger in the center. If they're having trouble here with doing this with a spindle gouge, then we'll suggest that they use a scraper. And using the scraper, we want to have the scraper pointed down against the wood a little bit. Not going to get quite as good a finish with a scraper, but for the first time turner, it's a little bit easier to do turning with a scraper rather than a spindle gouge. Then we'll use a pencil to mark off where the grooves will go. Working into the honey dipper here, equally space some grooves. It's probably enough there. So the parting tool we were using is a little bit wider than the groove, so make a adjustment for that. Now we'll do a little sanding. We'll use 2 grits of sandpaper. We have some 100 grit sandpaper and some 220 grit sandpaper. We'll start with the 120. Get rid of some of this roughness left by the scraper. Round over the edges of the grooves here a little bit. And we'll use the 220 paper to give a fairly smooth surface that will work well with the paraffin wax we're going to add in a second. So we want to inspect that, make sure we don't have any deep gouges or anything. We've done an adequate job of sanding. Then the next step is to use a small piece of paraffin. Just rub it once over the surface because we don't need much wax. And we'll take a small cloth, speed the lathe up a little bit, and apply enough pressure to the wood to melt the wax. The cloth should be getting a little warm here as this is done. And when we get all of the surface done, there'll be enough wax left on the cloth that we can use the cloth to get down into the grooves and apply some wax there. So now the honey dipper is finished. It's best to part the honey dipper off for the first time turner here. We'll just take it and turn it down to about width of a pencil lead or so. We'll turn off the lathe and use a small saw to cut off the ends. Using a saw makes sure that we don't end up with a hole in the end by pulling the fibers out by trying to turn it off. So then we just do a little bit of sanding on the ends with a 120 and then the 220. Then our cloth will have enough wax left on it to add a little wax to the ends. And the honey dipper is complete.